foods you eat and how they contribute or detract from your health. A lot of us are walking around in suboptimal health. Some of us even have quite chronic illnesses that we have to manage. But it's been a while since many of us have felt well. Who remembers the last time they felt well? Really well, bright and happy, full of vitality, knew they had energy to go from the beginning of the day through the end of the day. I have a lot more people that say they can't remember when they last felt well without having an afternoon crash of energy, feeling depleted, having suboptimal energy levels for the things that they are passionate about achieving in their lives. Some people have daily headaches. Some people have aches and pains, muscle pain, joint pain, chronically at that level where it's just there, it's noticeable, it's somewhat annoying, and yet they live with it day to day and every day and don't do anything to address it because it's accepted that everybody's lack of energy. Everybody has aches and pains. Everybody has headaches. I'll just take Motrin and it'll be gone. What I'd like to address with you is some of the other chronic illnesses: migraines, psoriasis, eczema, asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, diabetes, a lot more of our more dangerous illnesses and diseases. The contribution our food plays in chronic illnesses. Does anybody think that they hear more today of dairy intolerances, gluten intolerances, things like that than ever before? Let's find out why, and let's find out why we're first of all getting a better understanding of our foods, but why is it even happening in the first place? Okay, so for this part of our demonstration, we're actually going to show you a typical colon, which is what we're going to use these pantyhose for. So our colon is quite usually about 2.5 inches in diameter, but it can stretch. It can stretch up to 5 inches in diameter, and it's got a lot of flex in it. So we can pack a lot of stuff in there. So right now, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you what the typical American diet looks like. She's going to have to be the colon holder. Okay. So we all know what a typical life is like for us right now. We are stressed. We're running 100 miles an hour. We probably went to bed late, slept in a little bit till the very last snooze button would allow us to. We get the kids off, we get ready for work, we're on our way to work, got the kids off, we haven't had breakfast. So we need to stop and get something for breakfast. So the typical American will stop and get one of these. Okay, so there's our nice typical American breakfast, a nice hearty donut. And the first ingredients that we know that these are made out of white flour. Right? We've got white flour and a bit of water. That makes paste, right? Yeah. So we're going to start off the day with a little bit of white flour and paste. And the white flour has been totally depleted of all B vitamins. So we know it's not very nourishing for us in the first place. Another high ingredient in here is sugar. Okay, so we're starting off with white flour and sugar. The sugars also are B depleting in our diet. So we're starting off the day, not only do we have enough sugar in the flour and in the dough itself, we've got to squeeze sugar into it. And we also have to put sugar on the outside because we didn't have enough sugar in it. We have fried this in hydrogenated oil. Who thinks hydrogenated oil is good for you? Do you know why hydrogenated oil is not good for you? Do you really have an idea of why trans fats are not good for you? First of all, hydrogenated oils were invented in 1912 by a French scientist to harden soap. So really what the food industry found out about hydrogenated oils were that, okay, if it can do that, imagine what it could do to a Twinkie. We can build food now that can stay on the shelf and last 100 years if we wanted to. So it was implemented into our foods to make them more stable, to have a longer shelf life. What we know about trans fats and hydrogenated oils is that they are very abrasive. When we try to metabolize them, they act a lot like a chalk, and they will scratch the artery lining and set it up for arteriosclerosis. So we don't want hydrogenated oils in our diet, and that's the reason for it. So what we've had is over the lips, over the gums, look out stomach, here it comes, our first breakfast, our first meal for the day, jam-packed full of nourishment, right? Okay. But what's a breakfast these days without a cup of coffee? We really don't like the taste of it, do we? So we need to add maybe some creamer. We use the artificial kind too. We use the one that's more convenient and lasts the longest amount of time. It's got 5 hydrogenated oils, by the way, in this product. So not only do we have to avoid hydrogenated oils, this has 5 different kinds of hydrogenated oils in it. So we're choosing the non-sugar added one because we're going to be good to ourselves, right? But what is the source of the sugar? The first one says it's maltodextrin. Okay, that's a corn-derived sugar. And as we go down the list, aspartame. So aspartame is a chemical that we know that when we heat it to 86 degrees forms formaldehyde. So then we're going to ask the body to break down formaldehyde. Formaldehyde and its biochemical breakdown components cross the blood-brain barrier of up here and does extensive neurological damage. Aspartame has been highly implicated in Alzheimer's and a lot of other cognitive illnesses and degeneration. So think carefully about when you're choosing a diet product for no sugar added. If it says aspartame on it, please throw it back. Don't take it. All right, we're really setting ourselves up for some trouble. Go ahead and have the sugar, but since we're being kind to ourselves, let's go ahead and have aspartame.
Is it sweet one?
Yeah, sweet one. And it's in a lot of our diet products, but let's go ahead and be kind of good to ourselves. So okay, over the lips, over the gums, look at our stomach, here it comes. The other thing I want you to know about coffee is caffeine is extremely calcium depleting in our body. So that was a nice, complete, filling, nutritious breakfast, and that's a typical breakfast eaten in the car, on the way, under stress, in traffic. But do you know what? This amount of sugar that's in this, it's going to cause our blood sugar, insulin level to spike, our blood sugar level to spike first. Insulin follows. Within an hour or two, we now have a hypoglycemic state. We're really dragging it, and it's about 10:30 or 11 o'clock. We shouldn't be feeling that way right now, but this is the reason why. But we've still got a whole list of things to do. But I need to stop for lunch. I've got to stop for lunch, and I didn't prepare anything, so I'm going to stop and have the typical American meal. I drive up and I say, I need a hamburger, a cheeseburger, and some French fries. The response from the lady, American meal. And I said, well, I guess so. So we already have this fancy wrapped thing. Recognize this?
Yes.
Hamburger. What do we know about what this white stuff is?
White flour.
White flour again. White flour, essentially just white flour and sugar and a lot of yeast that we're adding that we probably don't need. Okay, highly refined, over the lips, over the gums. Look at the stomach, here it comes. Oh, a bit of peristalsis, we're gonna, it's really tough. It's tough to get that stuff out.
Glue.
Yeah. Anybody recognize this orange yellow thing? What do we call it?
Cheese.
Really?
Wax is what I call it.
There's a reason it looks like plastic.
It's plastic.
Right, remember what I said about hydrogenated oils? It is essentially hydrogenated oils. It is really truly plastic. Let's feed this to our kids. All right.
Question,
So over the lips,
please.
over the gums, just before we continue, and you can ask your questions just at the end of this. But you know what? We're going to be real kind to ourselves. We're going to have a vegetable with our meal. So here's our token alkalizing food for the day so far. Everything else has been highly acidic. But here comes our vegetable. So let's go ahead and finish this meal. But what's a hamburger without the French fries? Hydrogenated oils, saturated fat. We're going to stick all this in here too. Our stomach's really going, oh, hello. We're stretching it out. It's finding it hard to kind of pass through our system at this point, but we're still going to go ahead. Lots of demands on our liver. We need to be producing quite a bit of bile here to be dealing with all of this fat. So we've got everything on high alert, working pretty hard for us. No help from the food. There's no enzymes in this. Nothing. Nothing that's going to help break this down. So I'm feeling kind of full, but you know what? I'm not done. Gotta have my soda, right? I'm going to have diet soda. Okay? What do we know that's in diet soda again? Aspartame. Okay, so you've already alerted. Now aspartame, let's get out of this aspartame. But the other thing you've got to be aware of, and it's not just Cokes, but it's almost all sodas, phosphoric acid. Anybody, women in general, need to get away from anything with phosphoric acid. The only way for us to clear the extra phosphorus from our body is for our bones to give up calcium. Our body will look to calcium to get rid of the phosphorus. All right, you got the point here. We're going to add our token bit of fluid. Who thinks that at this point you're going to be feeling pretty good about yourself? Do you think maybe you might have a little bit of discomfort, maybe even some reflux? But I tell you what, it's a lot of work for our stomach to digest this, to push it through our system, and for us to get any nourishment from this, okay? We have put more demands on our system just simply asking it to deal with this. Now, we might do this once in a while, we might get away with it. But people eat like this day after day after day. I'm not even going to deal with dinner, okay? I think you get the point. Don't be afraid to have something like that once in a while, but if you're having many foods that are processed throughout the day, which means processed cereals, okay, we can be looking to a similar kind of thing, depleting and very demanding on our system. I'm going to show you this back in just a second. This is something that goes through a lot easier. You can, just to let you know, sorry.
Step back.
Now, this is something else that we could talk about. But I've got kidney beans and fruit salad, quite a bit softer. But you know what I had in the beans and in the fruits and in the vegetables are enzymes that will help us break this food down into really, really small pieces. Okay? The smaller they are, the easier they are for us to digest and absorb and to eliminate. Okay, so we need these particles to get as small as they can, and that's the job, the mechanical job of the gut, squeezing away, working away, churning away, but also a great big contribution of enzymes, and you're not going to get that from processed food whatsoever. What can happen over time, where we pour food into our stomach and into our intestines, and with lack of appropriate amounts of digestive enzymes, we can start getting tears, small openings in the intestines, okay? Which on this scale start to look like this. So we're getting pockets of irritation and we're getting bigger openings. What happens in that case is we're starting to get bigger particles of food, partially digested food, coming out, okay? What should really have stayed inside the intestines is now leaking through, and the first thing that happens is our body needs to defend itself. Recognize these bigger particles of undigested food as foreign invaders. So the army is called in, and the army of white blood cells is our first line of defense. So they come, and the first time it happens, we're pretty good at saying, let's attack it. The second time it happens, we get a bigger response. The third time it happens, we get a bigger response. So it builds and builds and builds. So where you might not notice being symptomatic, that is, having indigestion, cramps, getting headaches, skin flare-ups, it may well be, in fact, because your gut has lost the integrity along the line somewhere, that your own body is recognizing undigested or poorly digested chicken as a foreign invader. So what's happening here in a lot of people's gut is that we've got leaky gut, is what we call it. It's no longer tight with good integrity. It's got some breaks in it. So I say, when was the last time you felt well? Some of us don't really realize that we're really not optimally